Welcome to the Master Passive Income Show. My name is Dustin Heiner, and I'm here to help you get financial independence, quit that just over broke job, that JOB, by investing in real estate so you never ever have to work a job again. And all of you investors, immediately stop doing these things that are causing you to lose money, worry about your business and your properties, and if you're going to make money and if you're going to be able to feed your families. This episode is all about showing you how to do things right and don't fall for these mistakes that most investors fall into. All right, let's start the show.
Welcome to the Master Passive Income Podcast, where we talk about investing in real estate with a special focus on making enough money so you can quit your job and live the dream life. And now, here's your host, Dustin Heiner.
Hey, what's going on? Super blessed as always to have you here. I honestly, week after week, coming to listen to the show, and I want to see you succeed in real estate. And it's honestly why I have this podcast, is so that you can actually invest in real estate. I love hearing people reach out to me and tell me that they started investing because of the podcast. And actually, you can do the same thing. So I'm on Instagram. If you go and look up, the Dustin Heiner is my handle, THE Dustin Heiner. You could reach out to me on there, but I don't really do much short form stuff, like posting a bunch of stuff on real estate. This is how I shared real estate. Everything on Instagram is more for just connecting with people. So definitely, if you are investing in real estate, this episode is all about you so that you don't fall for these mistakes. And I'll be completely honest with you, that these are mistakes that I fell into and I had to learn the hard way. Like really, within the first 6 months of my first rental property, I think it was back in 2007 when I bought my first property, 2006, 2007, I hired a property manager and she started stealing from me within 6 months. It was horrible. And so what I'm going to be sharing with you today are the tips so that you do not have to fall into these traps, fall into these mistakes, so that you will actually become financially independent and be able to feed your family with the properties that you invest in. Now, you may have heard a couple weeks ago, I talked about my trip that I was going to take with my family, a 35-day road trip with a travel trailer, and then that fell apart, which means like my car fell apart, overheated. Then I got back and tried to rent an RV. Well, that thing, the AC wasn't working. It was 120 degrees outside in Phoenix, and the generator wasn't working. So the whole story, it was a couple episodes ago. I literally tell you the entire story, which it didn't take that long, but man, it was arduous, 5 days of everything. So in the end, what I came away with was praying. I was like, God, it seems like we're not meant to go on this trip. It sounds fun. 35 days going up to Glacier National Park, over to Mount Rushmore, down to Louisiana, and come back to Phoenix. It seemed like it was going to be fantastic, but with so many troubles, 5 days of troubles, and just countless miles driven, try to figure this out, we realized that it probably wasn't the right time, anything for us to actually go and do this trip. And here is the amazing thing. I was praying and it felt like I said, the Lord was letting me know this is not the right time to go. Well, I kid you not, a week before I went on that trip, I was looking at my tires on my car. And I bought them at Sam's Club. And since then, I'm at Costco as well. But I bought them at Sam's Club. And I'm looking at the tread. It's got like 60,000 miles on the total warranty. Well, I'm at like 40,000 miles, and it's getting really worn down. And I'm looking at it like, well, maybe I should get new tires. So I took it in, and I said, hey, this should have a lot more life on it. And now the tires are really, really worn. What can you guys do for me? And the guy goes, oh, man, it's got another 15 to 20,000 miles on those. Those are looking good. I said, okay. And, I'm not a car guy by any means, but I'm looking at it, and the tread looks pretty worn down. Apparently, there's a wear bar, like something that separates the tread, that you can, once it gets down to that certain point, it's like the manufacturer saying, alert, alert, time to get a brand new tire. Well, apparently it was just like a centimeter above that. So he's, you're fine. It's like, okay. Well, praise the Lord, we did not go on that trip. So this last weekend, which was a week and a half after that botched trip, that 35-day trip, we went up camping up in Flagstaff area. Lake Mormon is where we went camping, and we weren't off-roading or anything. We were driving down the road, and we got onto this one smaller road, but the tire blew on me, and this was literally 200 miles after that guy said, oh, it's going to last for another 20,000 miles. And I'm looking at my family. I got my wife, my 4 kids, and we're driving down the road. And if I was driving on a freeway, let's say 1,000 miles away, pulling an 8,000-pound trailer full of stuff, and that tire blows on me while I'm on the freeway going, let's say 60, 70, maybe I probably wouldn't be going 85. That's pretty heavy of a weight. But imagine that tire blowing out and us on the freeway with that big trailer behind us. It would have been scary. Plus, we'd have been stuck about 1,000 miles away. Oh my goodness. It was such a blessing to have not gone on the trip. We're all safe. Everybody's good. Here's one quick little thing. So the tire blew and I had a spare that was located underneath the car. Well, here I am. I get the boys out. I'm teaching them how to actually change the tire, jack it up and everything. And then I get, it's a Ford vehicle, stock Ford tires, Ford lug nuts, stock Ford wrench, and, for the lug nuts, and stock jack to raise it up. Well, here I am getting ready to jack it up. And the lug nut wrench literally does not fit the lug nuts on my car. And we're somewhat kind of far out. There's not a lot of people on this road. And I can't take off the tire because the lug nut wrench does not fit these lug nuts. So we're praying. Long story short, I called roadside assistance. And they said, oh, no problem. We'll send somebody out. 30 minutes later, we can't find anybody to come out to you. Well, praise the Lord. About 10 minutes before that, an older couple was driving by and they saw us and they pulled over. We didn't even flag them down because I was waiting for the roadside assistance. We didn't flag them down. They stopped and they said, hey, do you guys need any help? I said, well, and they had a Ford Ranger. I asked, do you have a lug nut wrench that I could use? It might fit. Praise the Lord. It actually fit. I got to change the tire. Oh my goodness. So all that to say, I am so blessed. We did not go on that trip. We are literally comfortable in our own beds. Everything's back to normal in the car. And now looking back, being blessed that we did not go on that trip. Eventually we might do it in the future, but now the school's starting up. We homeschool, but like school, we're starting to pick back up on school and everything. We'll probably do a fall trip. But oh my goodness, that was absolutely amazing story. At least our kids have a good time telling their friends all about it. But now let's move on to you and how I can help you get over the hurdles, landmines, big grenades that I actually had to jump on. Well, sadly, fell on or tripped over, or basically I didn't do the business right. And so I'm learning all these mistakes. And as I'm learning mistakes, I'm literally writing them down like, okay, don't do this. Don't do that. Don't do this. And do this. And so what I wanted to do is I wanted to share with you these things that I've learned over my time as an investor, but then also as a coach. I've seen, now that I've coached hundreds, if not thousands of students, now we have our group coaching where, if you join our membership, we just had our group coaching call a couple nights ago. We had 27 students all at the same time answering each other's questions, or I'm answering their questions, along with Charles and William, the other MPI coaches. We're in there just helping and coaching these students. And here is the thing that I've started to realize is, man, these problems that we all run into, they're not uncommon. Like us investors, we all run into these. And I wanted to lay out what I see as the most common problems, things that investors do wrong that they should do the opposite way. Now, when I tell you these, I admit, when I tell you these, you're gonna be like, oh yeah, duh, I get it. But until you actively do it and go through it, it doesn't make sense until you actually hear somebody tell you, or you go through it yourself. And so these are the things that I've learned, and all of the other students, how we've learned to make our businesses so much better. And I want to pause for a quick second and share that honestly, I really want you to invest in real estate. Now, my new goal is to help 1 million people invest in real estate. So 2 things I would ask from you. Number 1, if you get anything out of this episode, please share it with somebody else. Just say, hey, check out Dustin at Master Passive Income. He really wants to help 1 million people to invest in real estate. That's number 1. Number 2, I want to get you to invest in real estate. Get my real estate investing course absolutely for free. Text the word rental, RENTAL, to 33777. rental to 33777. I'll literally give you my course, show you how to find an area of the country to invest, how to build the business first. I always talk about that, and how to find the right properties, how to make sure you're getting experts to do the work for you, and scale the business to where you're making $250 or more in passive income. Scale it to quit your job. I'll literally get to you, or go to masterpassiveincome.com/free course. Obviously, it'll be in the description, but I really, really want you to invest in real estate, because the more that actual, normal, everyday people own real estate that are good landlords, the better everybody's life gets. Let's jump in where we're going to be talking about the issues and the problems and how to do this business without making mistakes. I was working with one investor recently who was starting and investing in a new area, and he was giving me a whole bunch of criteria of the expenses and the location and all these sort of things. But the biggest question I had for him is, are you sure that this property is going to make this much money? Are you sure that this property is going to make $1,000, which you think it will? Now, if it makes $1,000, you're going to be pocketing about $300 a month in passive income. That's fantastic. But do you know for sure that you would get $1,000? How did you come to that number? And they said, well, my property manager said that I should be able to get $1,000. I said, well, I wouldn't take their word for it. I would probably get 2 or 3 other recommendations for what the current rent would be for that property. Because the last thing you want is the rent to come $750 is the max you can get for the property. You have it on the market for 6 months at $1,000 and nobody's renting it, and you lower and lower and lower. Eventually, somebody finally moves in for $750. Well, that just ate up all your profit because you bought it too high. You were expecting too much income. All that to say, let's jump into where we're going to be talking about the different types of mistakes you're going to make. Now, the first type of mistake you're going to make is not making money when you buy a property. Now, there's a saying that you make your money when you buy a property. You realize the money when you sell the property. Now, what that actually means is that when you buy the property, that's when you've made the money. So let's say the property is worth $100,000, but you buy it for $75,000. Well, if you buy it for $75,000, you actually made $25,000 right when you bought the property in equity. So if you wanted to turn around and sell it, you can sell it for $100,000. So that is a good deal on a property that made you money from day one. So that's something that, as any type of investor, if you're flipping properties especially, because that's where you make your money, but investors that invest solely in rental properties like us, that is also a huge deal, because the lower the price of the property, the less money you have coming out in expenses. If you have a mortgage on the property, a $80,000 mortgage is about $50 less, maybe $100 less than a $100,000 mortgage. That's extra money in your pocket. On top of that, if you did sell the property, you would make that money in income because you've sold the property for more money than you bought it for. So you have equity in the property that if you sold it from day one, as soon as you bought it, you sold it, you can make money. So that's the first mistake, not making money when you buy the property. Another mistake that investors come across is buying a property with little to no cash flow. Now, if you remember what cash flow is passive income that comes into your pocket every month. It's not the amount of rent that you get from the property. Like if you rent a $1,000 property and every month you get $1,000, that's not the cash flow. That is the income that you get, the gross income. Now, I'm talking about cash flow is after every expense, from mortgage, property management fees, taxes, insurance, vacancy factor, so many different expenses that could come out of your pocket. That's all accounted for. And everything outside of that, or on top of that, is your monthly cash flow. Now, investors like us, we invest in cash flow. Buying a property where we make money from day one is essential. But the number one criteria is if we are going to make money every single month. That is how I was able to take a 6-week trip all throughout Europe and not have to work a day. Basically, all the people worked for me, and I made money that came in every single month in the form of passive income. Now, all the expenses were accounted for, and my profits on top of that came in my pocket, which paid for our house, our travel expenses, our airfare, all that sort of stuff. So I still have money coming in every single month.
Now, investors who buy a property with little to no cash flow, what turns out is that you start losing money and money comes out of your pocket every single month. Your goal as an investor is to have money go into your pocket every single month, not going out. So as money comes in, you make more money and you can spend that to, for your life expenses or save it to invest in more properties, which is I strongly recommend. Now, if you buy with little to no income, you're actually going to be losing money every single month where your money's going to be coming out of your pocket. Now, I'll give you an example. If you're only making $50 a month in passive income, well, over the year, guess how much money that is? That's only $600 in profit. Now, let's say you're making $50 a month. That's $600 in profit. Let's look at the entire year. If you have the property not rented for 1 month, and it's currently rented for $1,000, like the rent you should be receiving is $1,000, well, let's look at your expenses. If your expenses are around $650 to $700, that's $700 out of your pocket every single month that goes to pay for everything like we just discussed, mortgage, property manager, taxes, etc. So $700 goes out of your pocket every single month. If it's not rented 1 month out of the year, let alone any other, like if a furnace goes out, you got to repair the roof or whatever it might be. If it's not rented just 1 month, that $600 profit is eaten up, and then you put an extra $100 out of your pocket. So another big problem that I see investors do is not buying with enough cash flow coming in their pockets every single month. I'm going to give you a rule of thumb. Basically, the way that I say if it's a good deal or not is if I can make $250 or more every single month, not $100, not $150, even $200 is cutting it close. If it's only $200, I would tend to think that might be a decent property. Let's try to adjust some numbers or, get the price down lower. But if it's under $250 a month, I personally pass. There are so many properties out there that you can pass on a certain property because there are other properties out there that will make you more. Now, it's going to take more work on your end to find a good deal. The good deals are properties that actually can make you $250 a month. But I have 30 plus properties that make me at least $250 to $300 every single month or more. I have some properties that make me $500 or $600 a month because of how I bought it, because of making money when I first buy the property and keeping my expenses low. I have that much money coming in every single month. Now, I know it's hard. I know what you're thinking is, wow, $250, how do I find a property that's going to make me that much money? I'm going to say it's absolutely possible. You really need to learn what a good property looks like, how to make sure you account for all the income and expenses and make money every single month. All right, so the next one is overestimating the income from the property. The next problem would be overestimating. Just like I was telling you, this other investor that I've been working with, where he thought it was supposed to make $1,000. Well, I literally invest in that same exact area. So the areas that he was looking at, I know what these properties rent for. And that's why when he said $1,000, I said, wow, that's a lot of money. I personally don't even see $1,000. I have decent properties. So I gave him an example. This one property you're thinking might make $1,000. I'm going to say you'll be lucky if you get $850 for it. So that's $150 taken out of your profit. If you thought you're going to be making $300, that's $150 taken out. You're only pocketing $150 a month, which is below the cap that we just talked about. So overstating your income. Now, how to get out of that is to get multiple people, multiple property managers, multiple realtors, multiple websites. Go to Zillow.com, Trulia.com. Go to these other websites that actually give you an estimate of what the rent would be. Now, I'm going to give you a tip too. If you go to Craigslist.com and look up properties that are for rent in that area that you're investing, if you say in this one zip code, in a 5-mile radius, let's look at all the properties. Well, if there are properties that are making $850 and there are none that are making $1,000, imagine you might not get $1,000 for that property. So overstating your income will be very detrimental to your investing business, because if you overestimate it, and then the next thing is underestimating your expenses. If you do that, you're going to squeeze down your potential cash flow every single month. So, like I said, what you need to do is get multiple sources giving you what is a good income. Now, here's another quick tip I'm going to give you. Underestimate your income from the property. So if the property manager is telling you $1,000, you're thinking realistically you'll be able to get $850. I would even say shoot for $800, because if you can't get rented for $850, you're going to have to lower it to $800 or $825. But if you run your numbers as And before you buy the property, you say, well, I'm going to put the numbers at $800. If my numbers work at $800, then great. I have a great property. If I can rent it for $1,000, that's $200 extra in my pocket every single month. But I've padded my expenses, I've padded my income so that I have the ability to fluctuate from up and down, where I'm not going to be caught where I'm expecting too much coming in the property, but I don't get enough and I start losing money every single month. The next one is underestimating your expenses. Now, let's say you have a mortgage. Now, you get your mortgage, more than likely that's going to be pretty set because you have your set interest rate, you have your set dollar amount, all that sort of stuff. It may fluctuate $25, $30 here and there. That's not bad. But if you're underestimating your things like your taxes, let's ballpark the taxes at $1,000 a year. Let's just do that. I would say don't. Get your specific taxes, because you can go to the county recorder. The city even might have its own taxes. Even if you don't find all the taxes that you owe. I'll give you an example. In Houston, where I invest, the first property I bought there, I made a mistake of not knowing that there was a city tax on top of a county tax, and the city tax was double the county tax. So I literally thought I was going to be making $600 a month. That was cut in half to $300 a month because of the city tax that I didn't know before I bought the property. All that to say, you don't want to underestimate your expenses. So remember, the last one was you don't want to overestimate your income. This one's you don't want to underestimate your expenses. Now, what I do is on the conservative side for my income, I bring it down. So if they're saying I'm going to get 1,000 and everybody's telling me I get 1,000, I'm going to lower it to $900. I'm going to just drop it by 10%. If that works, if my numbers work well still, then it'll be a great property. Hopefully I'll be able to get $1,000, which would be great. But if I get it for $900, I'm still making money. Now, same thing. You conservatively want to overestimate your expenses. If you believe your expenses are going to be $650 a month, put 10% on top of that. Add another $65. So make it around, $715 a month in expenses. So you're overestimating your expenses, because if your expenses come lower, then great. You have that much money, more money come in your pocket. But if they're over, you have that padding to where you're not going to be concerned about extra money coming out of your pocket. Remember, overestimating your income, underestimating your expenses are bad. You want to do the opposite of that. Hopefully I got that cleared up. Now, here's another one that I find a lot of new investors go through. You got to work really hard to not let this happen. Allowing your emotions to cloud your judgment. Now, allowing your emotions to cloud your judgment would look like this. Hey, I'm buying this property. It's nice. I would even live there. It's a great property. And yes, I've spent so much time looking at the property. I'm going to buy it because I like the property. It looks nice. It's the type of place I would want to live in. I'm going to make it nice and clean, where I put granite countertops and update it really, really well. Those are the type of emotions that you don't want to have when you're investing. Now, here, I'll give you a huge tip. I look at every single one of my properties, and I'm going to caveat this by saying I want my properties to be good working order, good condition, similar to all the other rental properties in the area, so that I'm not taking advantage of people. These are nice places. But I'm going to say that you want to look at your properties as I do. They're inventory. It's inventory. It's not a house that you're going to be living in. You don't want your emotions clouded to say, wow, this is such a great property. I can't lose it. They want more money, so I'm going to give them more money. No, this is a business. So remember not to let your emotions cloud your judgment to where you think that, hey, I have to buy this property for whatever reason. If you need to walk away from a property before you buy it, then please do it. Now, a lot of people fall into this trap. Now, the next trap is even worse, because once you have the property, having as little money coming out of your pocket and as much money coming in your pocket is the right way to go. And doing this next mistake is actually going to make it really, really hard on you to make money. So the next mistake a lot of new investors make is allowing tenants to stay in the property without paying. Now, at first glance, that might seem like, hey, that just doesn't make sense. Why would anybody do that? Well, what it comes down to is people start to be very lenient on letting tenants stay in longer than they should and not evicting them as quickly as they should. They start taking stories like, oh, my brother had a car accident, so I had to help him pay for his car, or my son's in jail. I've had that many times from some certain tenants. I was like, how many times can your son actually be in jail? I mean, can't you tell him to stop being stupid? I didn't say that actually, but it just seems like every month your kid's in jail, and so you can't pay your rent. Well, so I'm speaking out of experience. When I first started my investing business, I was so lenient on every single tenant. And it's not that I'm saying that every tenant lies, but I get so many lies that I have to assume somebody's lying. Or every single person, every single story is lying. And a way to get out of that is to put in business rules and business processes in your business so that you know when somebody is not paying, the eviction process starts automatically. I'll give you an example. The rent is due on the 1st. It's late after the 3rd. Sometimes it could be the 5th, depending on your lease. But let's say it's due on the 1st, late after the 3rd. Then on the 4th, I give you a 3-day notice. And that 3-day notice is just a piece of paper taped to your door saying that eviction is going to start in 3 days. After that 3rd day is up, the 4th day, the eviction process starts without failure. It's going to start because what that does is it gets your tenants understanding that you're not somebody that's going to be pushed around. It's basically a business and you have business rules. Now, I'll give you an example of how this would play out practically for yourself. Now, if you own a home, more than likely you have a mortgage on the property. Now, the bank says the rent is due on the 1st or the mortgage payment is due on the 1st. And if it's late, we're going to charge you a late fee. And if you continue to not pay, we're going to have to foreclose on you and take the property back. They have business rules that if it's late after the certain day, we're going to charge you a late fee. And you're going to have more problems coming up if you continue to not pay the mortgage, and eventually you're going to be foreclosed on. Imagine yourself as the bank. You are renting your property that you have business rules on. If the tenant is late after the 3rd, then you give them a 3-day notice and a $40, $50, whatever the late fee is going to be for your property. On top of that, as soon as that 3-day period is up, the next day that you're going to file the eviction. It gets that drilled inside your tenant's brain that you're not going to be pushed over. You know, if you went and told your bank and say, hey, my son was in jail, so I had to bail him out, they're going to say, oh, sorry to hear that. Your mortgage is still due. You still have to pay it, and we're still going to foreclose on you. They can't or will not bend over backwards to try to get you to stay in the property. No, they're going to actually start foreclosing on you. Same thing with your business. You need to run your business as a business and make sure that you don't let tenants stay in there any longer than you absolutely have to. So if you need to evict somebody, get the eviction process started right away. Don't wait for any stories. Like you'll get tenants that say, hey, I'll pay you in 2 weeks. I'll pay you $200 there on Friday. I'll pay you another $300 next Friday. And then the Friday after that, I'll pay you the balance of it. You're going to get so many stories. Well, what happens is those stories actually don't play out well, where the first Friday comes up, they owe you $200. Well, they skip that. They don't pay you there. And they, oh, well, you know what? This next month, I'll double it. I'll make sure I pay you $500 this next Friday. And well, that Friday comes and goes and they still don't pay you. There's always story after story just to keep them in the property longer. Now, granted, there are probably some really great people that run into issues. Everybody does, and it always happens. I am just saying that you need to run your business like a business. And the reason why I do it is because my family relies on the income that I bring in. My children eat because of the money that I bring in from my properties that my wife then goes out and buys the food and feeds our family. If I don't have money coming in, I can't feed my family. If I don't have money coming in, then I can't pay my mortgage. If I don't have money coming in, then I can't keep my car with gas in it and all that sort of stuff. So you want to make sure that you get tenants out that are not paying as quick as possible and get good tenants in there as quick as possible who will pay. Now, your next mistake that I see a lot of investors make is not saving for future repairs and maintenance. So in not saving for future repairs and maintenance, basically would be not giving yourself a cushion. And here's the cushion that I usually encourage all my students to take that go through my investing course is 10% of the income that you bring in from the property, the rent, goes into a savings account. Now, I'll give you a practical example. If it rents for $1,000, well, $100 comes out of the rent that goes into a savings account. It's still your money, but you're saving it for in case a rainy day happens. You know, actually literally rains and there's a hole in the roof and you have to fix the roof, or a furnace goes out. Whatever the case may be, you're saving up money for future problems and issues. And the last thing you want is to go into a credit card debt because you have to fix a roof, spend $4,000 on a roof. So you want to save for rainy day, save for future repairs and maintenance. Now, here's a rule of thumb, because when you get to have many, many properties, let's say, I have 30 plus properties. If I kept thousands and thousands of dollars in those properties, well, then I can't use that money to invest and buy more properties. So in starting out, when you have one property, save up 10% a month, maybe 5%, but at minimum 5%, 10%, whatever you can. Save that into a savings account with your first property until you have 1.5 times the current rent. So if it's renting for $1,000, have $1,500 saved up in a savings account. It'll take you 15 months to get there, but once you have it, just sit there and let it sit. Now, as you accumulate more properties, what's going to happen is, if you have 10 different properties, I personally don't believe you need $15,000 saved up, 10 times the $150 or $1,500. I personally don't think you need $15,000 saved up because there's only so many furnaces that are going to go out at one time, maybe one or two. So my suggestion is, and it also balances off of your risk tolerance, how much risk you can actually tolerate. So if you have 10 properties and you want to save a total of $5,000 for all 10 properties, that's your prerogative because you're thinking, it's still my money. I'm saving it. I'm getting interest on it. Hopefully you're getting good interest, but I'm holding on to it in case something did happen. It's liquid, which means I can pull it out and pay for something. So I'm going to encourage you to save for future repairs, but as your business grows, as your risk tolerance kind of fluctuates up and down, you can have more or less money in that maintenance fund so that you will be prepared when things happen. All right, another potential mistake that you could run into is not enough quotes for any work done on the property. Quotes meaning you have a plumbing issue. You get one plumber to give you a quote for fixing the property. Well, that's how much it's going to cost. If you don't get more than one, if you don't get 2, 3, or even 4, you could be losing money. I'll give you an example. Let's take that plumbing problem. Let's say you have a plumbing problem. The plumber goes out there and says, I believe it is this. You need to remove the entire main drain and replace the entire main drain because it's so torn up and it can't be salvaged. Well, he's going to charge you $1,500 to $2,000 for that job. Well, if you just say, okay, I'm going to take your word for it, and not get a second opinion, well, you're out $2,000. But what if you get another plumber out there who says, I know it's the main drain, that's the problem, but what I could do is I can patch this one section, or as I rooted it out better than the last guy could have or did, it actually cleaned it out much better, and you don't need to replace the entire thing. Here's a $400 bill for you cleaning it out. You should be good for a good while. You don't need to replace it. That is a way to save money. And I've had that many times where my property manager comes back to me and says, there was this issue. We got somebody to quote us. This is how much it's going to cost. And I tell them, go get me at least 1 to 2 other quotes for that job that you're telling me we have to do. If it's anything above $500, usually I'll get a second quote. If it's above $1,500, absolutely make sure you get 2 or 3 quotes. All right. And the next mistake I see a lot of new investors make is rehabbing a property for more than the area is worth. And as I said earlier, if you put in granite countertops in a area of the country or area of the city that granite countertops is a super luxury where nobody has, well, that's a big expense. That costs maybe $2,000, $2,500 to put the granite countertops in, as opposed to maybe $800 to have a, Formica countertop or some other type of countertop that is going to be just fine. Tenants are going to like it just fine. Of course, they'd rather have granite, but you're spending maybe potentially $1,500 more than you possibly needed to. And, it could be very good. I'm not saying don't do it. I'm just saying you don't want to rehab the property for more than you can get out in rent. Because if you put in $2,000 or $2,500 in granite, your income, how much you could rent the property for, is not going to dramatically increase where you're going to get that paid off. It might raise up by like $5, $10 at best. But at the same time, you don't know what the tenants are going to be paying for. They're going to say, hey, these are nice granite countertops, but it might not be the selling point for them. And so you don't want to put in too much money over and above what the current area is dictating as far as rents and what the properties should look like. Because tenants are going to be looking around for other properties. They might like your property better, but you're not going to get that much more money out of the property. All right, next mistake, not knowing how much the property taxes are. Your property taxes can really kill you. And I gave you an example of me in Houston where I didn't know that they had a city tax, which was obviously stupid me. I should have done a lot more research. But if you don't know how much the property taxes are, you can really be hit. I was potentially going to make $600 in passive income from this one property, even with a mortgage. I was potentially going to make that much. But as soon as I found out that I had a city tax, which was double the county tax, which was absolutely ridiculous, it was like $2,300 a month, or sorry, $2,300 a year for the city property taxes. That just ate up my income so much. I still make money, praise the Lord. I think like $300 a month on the property, which is going great, but I had not accounted for all my property taxes. All right, another mistake that you can run into is hiring a bad property manager. Now, having a great property manager can make your life super fantastic, super terrific, where you don't have to worry about anything. They run the business and you just make money. But hiring a bad property manager will make your life so miserable where you're always worried about the property. You're not making as much as you should, or you're even putting money into the property. A bad property manager is like having a horrible quarterback for a team. If your quarterback is horrible, you're not going to win any games because you're not scoring points. And if you don't score points, you don't win. Now, a property manager is just like that. They're the quarterback of your team. They make sure that your business, your team is running well, from contractors to other realtors to inspectors, plumbers, all that sort of stuff. They make sure your business is running well, and they also work with your tenants. They make sure that your income comes in well, that you don't have falsified expenses or too many expenses that you don't need. I had a property manager, one of my first ones that I hired, she started stealing from me, and I had to fire her really quick. So hiring a bad property manager is something that will make you lose money so fast and make you just not sleep at night because your income is really affected. A bad property manager will make you lose money. A good property manager will help you make money. Now, another one, I alluded to this a little earlier. The next mistake that you're going to come across is not running your business as a business, not putting your emotions behind you and running your business and saying, hey, I have business rules, rent's due on the 1st, late after the 3rd, you get a 3-day notice. As soon as that's done, you get the eviction process started. And not running your business as a business and making sure you have these business processes set up. Now, these business processes would be like what type of paint you should use, and use the same color paint in all the properties, because you're going to buy 5-gallon buckets instead of a gallon buckets because you're going to save a lot of money. And then you're going to have leftover paint and that you could use from one house to the next house because it's all the same paint color. Things like that. You're running your business as a business. Now, a lot of people who buy their first property think, well, it's not a business yet. I only have one property. Well, I'm going to tell you right now that you absolutely do have a business. If you have one property, the IRS sees you as a business. So you're making money as a business. You can deduct your expenses. You can make sure that your income's all accounted for and having depreciation for your IRS taxes, all that sort of stuff. So run your business as a business. That is going to help you save so much money, so much time, and so much of headaches that could potentially come because you're making sure that you're running it smoothly and you're running it well. And the sum up of everything is basically running your business as a business. Next thing is not running a background check on potential tenants. That's a big mistake. I found lots and lots of people coming across is not spending the $30 to actually have a background check done. Now, in most places, you can actually have the tenant pay for the background check. It's an application fee for the background check, and that goes towards a background check. You're not really making money in an application fee. It just goes to pay for the background check. Now, in getting a background check, you're actually going to see a lot about the history about a potential tenant. Everything from their eviction history, what type of credit they have, if they have any criminal evictions, their employment history, where they've lived at. Lots and lots of things that come up on their background check, so you can see what type of tenant they've been in the past, what type of person also they've been in the past, which can hopefully dictate what they're going to be like in the future. Now, if your potential tenants are not going to be paying for those, I have had that where tenants say, well, I don't want to pay that. Well, I personally pay that myself because I found that a $30 credit check and background check and eviction check for $30 is going to save me thousands of dollars thousands and thousands of dollars in fees and eviction costs and loss of rents and all that sort of stuff. So absolutely make sure you do a background check on every tenant that you potentially want to put in your property. If you don't do a background check, you're potentially going to lose lots of money. I'll give you an example. So there was a lady that was wanting to move into one of my properties. On paper, she looked fantastic. The application looked great. Looks like she had plenty of income, lived in the same place for a very long time. Well, I ran a background check and I found out that she had actually been evicted 4 times in the last 3 years. Could you believe that? Actually kicked out of the place 4 times in the last 3 years. Well, I knew I didn't want to be the 5th person in 3 to 4 years. I knew that she would potentially be evicted. And I just said, you know what? I'm going to pass. And in doing that, I found a great tenant who's been in there for, I don't know, it's been a couple of years now. So doing a background check will allow you to see the potential future of a tenant and make sure that you don't hire tenants that you don't want. Another big mistake that new investors get is they start to become impatient and they think that investing in real estate rental properties is a get-rich-quick scheme. Now, they think they might get rich really, really fast and start making lots and lots of money, which I'm not saying that you can't make lots and lots of money and it can't be fast. I'm not saying that. But I'm saying that it does take time. It does take patience. It's not like flipping a house, which is, in my opinion, not investing. Investing is you buy and you keep things because you invest for future. Well, what people do when flipping a house, they buy a house, fix it up, and sell it. Well, that sounds like a job to me. Like if you don't make another sale, if you don't buy another house, fix it up, and sell it, well, then you don't make money. So flipping a house is not investing. Now, investing in real estate, when you buy rental properties, it is a long-term game where it's going to change your life, where you dramatically are changed, where you have so much more wealth than you ever thought you could because you own properties, as well as you have passive income coming in every single month that allows your family to eat, pay off your mortgage and all this sort of stuff to live on. So you don't have to actually have a job. Now, when you think of it as a get-rich-quick scheme, you may become impatient and then do bad deals, ones that you're not making money every single month, ones that you're not getting enough equity in. You're actually going to make bad deals because you want to move too fast. Well, I'm going to tell you, it's probably possible to move too fast in real estate, but it's definitely a problem when that moving too fast actually gets you into bad deals where you start losing money every single month. So real estate is a patience game where over time, you're going to make more and more money every single month. And then it becomes like a snowball where at first you're making $150 to $200 a month with one property. The next property, you're making another $200. So you're $400 a month. Next property, you're making another $200, which you're making $600 a month. So it just keeps snowballing and all that money keeps rolling back into your business. And that's another one I want to tell you is don't spend all your profits. Use that profits to put back into your business to buy more properties faster. That's how you can get wealthy fast and get rich very fast, is by putting that money back into the business. The last mistake is thinking that real estate investing is a sprint, like you just have to get there as fast as possible. Well, my opinion is that real estate investing is a marathon. It's a long-term game until the time that you can actually quit your job, like I did a number of years ago, where I literally never have to work another job again. So it took me 6.5 years to be able to replace my income. But at 9 years, I actually quit my job because I realized I had enough money coming in. I didn't have to work. I also didn't need to rely on my paycheck anymore. I had enough money coming in so I can continue to invest and buy more properties. I was sitting fine. I didn't have to worry about money anymore. So I thought of it as a long game. So it took me 9 years to finally quit my job. But once I did, oh my goodness, life is absolutely amazing.
And that is it for today. Go ahead and get my free real estate investing course. Text the word rental to 33777, RENTAL to 33777. You can also join my Real Estate Wealth Builders group coaching. Get all my courses. All right, guys, we'll see you in the next show. See ya.